All right. Here we go, guys and gals. And boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, drivers.
Season 3, episode number 6. I'm Andrew Hazel alongside Ethan Ignatowski, and today
what's up, everyone?
We have the show debut of Noah Reed. Thank you for coming on, Noah. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Just got off of work. Thank you guys so much for having me. I've been really excited. I've listened to you guys a couple of times, got to see you do some action last year at Phoenix, and to be on the show is an absolute honor. So thank you guys.
Friend of the show for a while now, long before we actually have him live on air. Like you said, we did some stuff at Phoenix for championship weekend, and now we're finally all in studio.
Yeah. So we're going to do this episode Australian style, as I'm calling it.
There you go.
Is we're going to do things backwards compared to forwards of picks, previews, news, and then there's no review. But we'll figure something out because Noah has to go early because he has an early class. I also have an early class, but I suffer. No sleep schedule for Andrew. Anyway, with that being said, let's get into the previews now.
And now for next week's race previews.
For the Great American Race, also known as Daytona Day, for those who remember that ad, you have, with all the changes in the offseason, I'm just going to list every driver who's changed cars just to get people back up to speed.
Remind everyone.
Cup Series, you have Gregson in the 4, that is now front row. Ty Dillon in the 10, that is now Colleague. Allmendinger in the 16, full-time. Briscoe in the 19, Barry in the 21. Front row Motorsports for Todd Gilliland. He's still with the team, but changing numbers now in the 34. Riley Herbst down the 35 for 2311. Zane Smith in the 38 for front row. 41 is Cole Custer for now the Haas Factory team. Tony Stewart, part of Stewart Haas Racing, sold the team. Cody Ware in the 51 for his father's team. Ryan Preece in the 60 for RFK. Michael McDowell in the 71 for Spire. Shane Van Gisbergen in the 88 for Trackhouse. And then your open cars this week, you've got 9 of them. That's the most we've seen in a while.
For sure.
I want to say since 2018.
I think maybe even before then, actually. I don't know. But I feel like it was it was a long while for a Daytona. It was a Daytona 500 race. I know that for sure.
It's been a minute, yeah.
You have Corey LaJoy, 01 for Rick Ware Racing, Justin Allgaier in the 40 for Junior Motorsports, 44 J.J. Yaley for NY Racing, 56 Martin Truex Jr. for Tricon Garage, 62 Anthony Alfredo for Beard Motorsports, Chandler Smith in the 66 for Garage 66, formerly
10 times fast.
Formerly MBM Motorsports, which MBM stand for Motorsports Business Management. Fun fact for you. 78 BJ McLeod Live Fast Motorsports, 84 Jimmy Johnson in his own team, Legacy Motor Club, and finally the 91 Trackhouse Project 91 entry for Helio Castroneves.
Yeah, it's going to be a full grid. Mm-hmm. Guys are going to have to go home. 40, maybe 41 cars, depending on how qualifying plays out, because, of course, Helio Castroneves is going to be taking advantage of the new exception rule. Provisional if he doesn't qualify. So, yeah, full grid, whole lot of excitement this year for the 500. Gonna be a crazy show. I mean, it's the biggest day in NASCAR, certainly. Mm-hmm. One of the biggest days in motorsports, full stop. I mean, it kicks off the season with a bang, you know? Daytona 500.
Yeah, so with all those open cars being said, it's time to make some predictions that don't count for pick points. Everyone's favorite thing to do. And who will be the 2 drivers making it on speed, and then 2 drivers making it on the duels, and then we'll answer a question: will Helio Castroneves need to use this provisional? And then the 4 cars missing out as a whole. Fun times. Let's go the 2. Let's start off with everyone doing the 2 cars making it on speed. I'll go first since I'm talking. I am going to go with I'm looking at this list saying, okay, who's got the fastest cars? And I think the drivers with the fastest cars will be Martin Truex Jr., that Tricon team, a lot of affiliation with Joe Gibbs. So I think he's going to make it on speed. And the other driver who I think will make it in on speed is a guy this might be a stretch, but this guy always seems to be solid at these super speedways for his equipment. And that is a guy by the name of Anthony Alfredo.
Okay.
All right. I see where you're going with that. The Truex take is interesting. I like what you said about the JGR Alliance. I think that's going to be something that Truex is definitely going to have to his advantage. And as I was diving through some of the stats this weekend, setting my fantasy lineup, I actually put Truex in the top 5 and was a little surprised by this. But he has currently scored, I believe, the 7th most points at Daytona in the past next-gen races, which is a pretty good batting average if you're going for strictly points.
For sure.
But for my 2 on speed, I think, kind of similar to you, it's going to be a team with an alliance. And I think having the Hendrick engine underneath the hood of that 40 Travelers whiskey car is going to put Justin Allgaier into the Daytona 500. He's number 1 on my list. And kind of in a similar vein, I like the Trackhouse energy. I feel like they just released the paint scheme with Wendy's. They've got a lot of positive momentum. He's going to be running the ARCA race. He tested well. Give me Elio Castroneves locking in on speed. He will not have to use the OEP, so we will go a little bit before we ever see the OEP in use. But those are my 2.
Disagreement's always fun. Unfortunately, I agree with Noah 100%. We talked about this already when we had Eric List on the show a few weeks back. We didn't go into as much detail, but we talked about the 4 guys that we thought were going to make it. Unless I'm just misremembering, I'm going to have the same 4 guys now. We're talking more about how we think they're going to get in. I fully agree that Justin Allgaier on speed, like you said, you have the partnership with Hendrick. Just seems like it would be kind of crazy if he didn't make it. So I have him making it in on speed. And Elio, that's also a pretty solid car. He has a lot of experience in racing at ovals. Maybe not in a stock car at a track like Daytona, but he's done stock car racing before. He has the experience to learn a track quickly. He has the experience to pick this up quickly. I think he'll get in on speed. And
one thing I do want to add is he gets practice. Practice tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern time. I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to be anxiously tuning in to get speed week and a half.
Yeah,
speed half week.
Yeah, not
the
speed week of old
we had at one point.
Yeah. I mean, everything's getting chopped a little bit, but still, like you said, there is excitement pretty early on before the weekend, So.
Yeah, so with that all being said, that means there's 2 drivers that have to race their way in. And my picks are going to be Justin Allgaier and Jimmy the Juggernaut Johnson racing his way in. And Elio will have to use the provisional. Even though he does have practice, even though he does have experience in stock cars, but they're not NASCAR. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. But
I don't think that's true.
I think there's some merit to that, and I think he'll be close. I think he'll be close to making it in on both areas, but at the end of the day, I think he'll have to use that provisional, and then that leaves
it's the craziest take in the world.
Leaves Yaley, LaJoie, Smith, and McLeod missing the show.
You know what? I'm glad I get to follow you on this one, because I think that a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this take, but I think you guys are going to be surprised. You know what? I'm going to go with going home. I have J.J. Yaley going home, Chandler Smith going home, I have Corey LaJoie going home. So those are 3 that I feel very confident in. Now I have Anthony Alfredo making it into the race. That Beard Motorsports car is always fast, whether it was Noah Gragson, whether it was Anthony Alfredo. We even saw Parker Retzlaff drive to the front of the field last season and the summer race. So I think the 62 will make it in the duels. And the other car that I like for the duels ran well at Talladega in an unsponsored paint scheme before getting walled. He ran well at Daytona last year. Give me the 78 of BJ McLeod, and that means that Jimmy Johnson will miss his first ever Daytona 500. He is just, he's looked off for a couple of seasons, and I think, I just don't feel confident that Jimmy coming down in a situation where he's going to have to race against Truex, where he's going to have to race against Alfredo, guys who have consistently proven that they could run well in the next-gen car. I just don't think Jimmy's up to the task. I could be completely wrong, and this could be a completely hot take, but yeah, Jimmy Johnson is going to miss the Daytona 500.
I feel like it's a crazier take saying Truex is going to miss the 500 because you didn't have him in on speed or making it on the duels.
See, I just
feel like that's a crazier take.
If Truex does make it, I'm keeping him in because I think his race pace will be good, but it's Tricon Garage. We've seen kind of the one-offs miss in the past, and it's, again, I like the manufacturer support as well. There's a lot of Chevys with, I believe McLeod is running a Chevy now. Yeah. Alfredo's in the Chevy. Trackhouse has got the Chevy. If you can get those Chevys locked up in the duels, especially if you get a couple of cars like a Kyle Larson, a William Byron, potentially locking onto the front row, which they could very well do in qualifying, you could easily see Byron, Larson kind of falling to the back and pushing some of those Chevy competitors. I know that a lot of people don't like the manufacturer games, but at the end of the day, you got to do what's best for the OEM, and in this case, Chevy has strength in numbers.
That's fair. I do disagree though on both counts. Actually, I have both of the old guys getting in, Martin Truex Jr. and Jimmy Johnson. So for me, my hottest take is that Anthony Alfredo in that Beard Motorsport car that does do well at Daytona isn't getting in. And I'm not confident in that at all. Like, I could see him making it in, and Castro Neves has to use the provisional, or either Johnson or Truex miss, or Allgaier misses. But I'm more confident in those guys. I feel like I have to be than Alfredo. For Jimmy, yeah, rough few years, not the best car, but it's almost mind-boggling to imagine him missing. I can't count him out of not making the Daytona 500 until I see it happen. And as for Truex, I'm pretty confident in him getting in, actually. I think the fact that he's not really taking a break or anything, like this is he's preparing for this race like as if there wasn't a break from Phoenix to his next race. It's Daytona. It's the first race of the season, same as everyone else. Same time off, same everything. So it's not, yeah, he's part-time now, but he's doing the first race of the season. He's on the same schedule as all those guys were. There's not going to be any rust. There's not going to be anything like that. So for that reason, I can't count him out.
All right. So with that all being said, I'm going to run over Xfinity trucks and touch on ARCA real quick. Same thing, all the changes. Sheldon Creed will be in the 00 for the Haas factory team. Carson Kvapil will be in the 1 for Junior Motorsports. Parker Retzlaff will be in the 4 for Alpha Prime Racing. Chris Wright, oh boy, will be in the 5 for R Motorsports. 07 of SS Greenlight will be Patrick Emmerling. Daniel Dye, now full-time for Colleague in the 10. SS Greenlight's 14 car will be Garrett Smithley. Colleague's third car will be the 16 driven by Christian Eckes. Joe Gibbs racing with a new lineup of 18 being Sawalich, 19 rotating with Justin Bonsignor starting off the year, 20 of Brandon Jones. 24 for Sam Hunt will be Ryan Truex, 25 for AM Racing will be Harrison Burton. 26 for Sam Hunt Racing will be Dean Thompson. 29 for RSS Racing will be everyone's favorite driver in the world, TBA.
That's GOAT right there.
Thank you, Ethan, for acknowledging that. 31 for Jordan Anderson Racing is Blaine Perkins. 32 for the same team is Jordan Anderson. 35 for Joey Gase Motorsports with Scott Osteen is Greg Van Alst. 41 for the Haas Factory team, Sam Mayer. 42 for not our Motorsports, that is Young's Motorsports, Anthony Alfredo. 45 for Alpha Prime, Cesar Baccarella. 48 for Big Machine Racing, Nick Sanchez. Joey Gase will be driving the 53 for his own team with Scott Osteen. 54 for Joe Gibbs, Taylor Gray. 70 for Cope Family Racing, Leland Honeyman Jr. 71 for DGM, Ryan Ellis. 74 for Mike Harmon Racing will be Carson Ware. 88 for Junior Motorsports, Connor Zilich. 91 for DGM Racing, Josh Blakely. Get 92 for the same team, CJ McLaughlin. 99 for Viking Motorsports, Matt DiBenedetto. Truck Series. The number 1 Tricon is going to be a rotation starting with William Sawalich. Number 2 for Young's Motorsports will be Nathan Bird. The 2 Rayum Brothers Racing will be driven by Josh Rayum. The 4 for Hettinger will be driven by Mason Maggio. 5 for Tricon, Tony Breidinger. Norm Benning shows up for his own team. The number 6, 07 and 7 Spire cars will be driven by Michael McDowell and Justin Haley, respectively. Number 17 for Tricon will be driven by Gio Ruggiero. Number 19 for McAnally Hilgeman Racing, Daniel Hemrick. Number 22 for Rayum Brothers, Jason White. Number 26 for Ackley Ward, Dawson Sutton. Number 28 for FDNY Racing, Fire Department New York, Brian Doza. 33 for Rayum Brothers, Malcolm in the Middle himself, Frankie Muniz. 34 and 38 for Front Row Motorsports, Lane Riggs and Chandler Smith. Nice Motorsports, 44 and 45 will be Bailey Curry and Caden Honeycutt. 66 for Thor Sport will be Johnny Sauter. 75 for Henderson Parker Kligerman. 77 for Nice will be Andres Perez de Lara. 91 for McAnally Hilgeman, 81, for McAnally Hilgeman, Connor Mosack. 91 for that same team, Jack Wood. 90 for TC Motorsports, Justin Carroll. And 95 for GK Racing, Clay Greenfield. ARCA will have a full field. Get ready for some ARCA breaks.
Good monologue.
That's all I have to say for that.
And we'll get to play it in NASCAR 2025 coming later this season.
get to run as who's a funny ARCA. Get to run as Cletus McFarland and just run into someone.
Exact same thing. I think Cletus is going to run well, guys.
Yeah,
I think
Cletus
he's going to do good.
probably.
I hope Cletus wins.
Oh my gosh, the internet would go crazy for a Cletus McFarland win. That would feed families.
Yeah, that would be crazy. Anyway,
shall we get into our official picks for the race?
It is officially time for pick points.
And now for next week's race picks.
Ethan, right now, this is a very, very lengthy season so far. Ethan currently leading with 1 point over me and the guests who have a 0.
Yeah.
Real late in the season, and I say that sarcastically.
Andrew, when was the last time you were in the lead of pick points?
Let's actually go on a quick side quest for that real quick.
Because it was a very long time ago. No, if you're not aware, you're in the presence of a 2-time back-to-back champion. And Andrew, I mean, come on, bud. If you don't win this year, there's going to be some washed allegations.
Andrew's really pulling the Eric E-Step level where he lost to the chat 2 years in a row.
All right.
Something like that.
The last time I was in the lead was week 13 of last year.
And how many weeks did we have? Like
44.
44 weeks?
Yeah, I was going to say, it's been a minute, Andrew.
Yeah,
Come on,
week
dude.
13, that was after the Cup race at Dover and the IndyCar race at Barber. So let's pull up the calendar here because I can. And that was for, let me see. That was at April 28th was the last day after a race that I was leading. And fun fact.
Let's see if I can get this to a year.
That's also my dad's birthday.
Hey, happy birthday, Jeff Hazlett.
So shout out my dad if you're watching. So, but the guests, they haven't been doing much better, Noah. Is that the last time they were in the lead was, where are we here?
Hopefully I can change that. I feel like I've got some pretty solid picks today.
Was, I think, hold on, give me a second here. Was week 2 of last year. That was after the Clash.
Okay.
So it's been a year.
So.
All right, so odds may be against me, but I'm still ready. I'm confident. I did a lot of research, did the numbers, crunched them, racing reference galore.
The guest last pick, we had an F1 driver draft, and we invited them all to pick for the Clash. Only one person did. That was Morgan. I don't know if you know him or not, but he picked Ty Gibbs.
Ooh, okay.
Ty Gibbs missed the Clash. If you remember.
It was not the best pick.
It was not the best pick.
It was a rough day for Gibbs and... Gibbs and Gibbs.
Gibbs was the only playoff driver to miss the Clash from last year. That's racing.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, moving on to the present time, Daytona Truck Series. I will not be watching as I will be at ASU baseball riding.
Yeah.
Yay. So, my pick, I'm going with a guy, something I failed to mention. Actually, we'll get to that later. A guy who I will mention later, Michael McDowell. I think is going to win the truck race. A lot of prowess on the super speedways. I think he's going to be a solid pick and a safe pick as well. What you want at Daytona?
Yeah, I have Corey Heim as my pick to win. If you listen to our championship prediction episode, you'll know that Corey Heim he's both of our picks to win the Truck Series championship, but I have him starting off the year strong with a victory. He finished second at Daytona last year. He's had success on the big tracks before, so why not? I'm already putting my confidence in him to win the whole thing. Might as well put some confidence in him to win race 1.
I like that. I like the Corey Heim pick. I really like the Michael McDowell pick. Michael McDowell, who is what I was going to go for. But you know what? I'm going to have to go with McDowell's teammate, Justin Haley. I think the Spire trucks are going to roll out of the gate really, really fast this season. Haley is a 4-time Xfinity Series winner on the super speedway level. He's got the cup win. Rain shortened or not, he's got a cup win. So Justin Haley is my pick to win the Truck Series race.
All right.
Moving up to Xfinity.
Which I will not be watching because I will be writing at ASU baseball.
I will also not be watching because I will be riding at ASU water polo.
Oh, you guys are going to be missing out.
Yeah,
we're all by my lonesome watching this race.
We made sure that our Sunday was free.
Yeah.
See, actually, that's where my day is not free, and I'm really disappointed.
Dude.
I've got a wonky start time for church, 1 p.m. Never had a church time start at 1 p.m., so I'll probably watch pre-race ceremonies and get the green flag at least. But I will have to, and I'm writing for Blaze too after the fact, so I'll be doing a little bit more of a delay. Hey, at least I'll get to skip through all of the commercial breaks.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. The one and only benefit to watching on replay.
Yeah, you get to. Speaking of random commercial breaks, remember I don't remember that year, but there was when Busch was doing ads for certain drivers, and there was like lap 15 in the race. They cut to one of those commercials, the Amber Balkan, and as they're going to commercial, there was a crash. And so they go to commercial. And this is a side by side. So I'm like, oh, they're wrecking as they go to commercial, and then cuts to side by side. And I'm like, I saw the wreck happen during the commercial. So that was just fun, just random things. Anyway, Don't know why I went what led me to going off on that tangent, but I did. So
Thanks
back
for sharing,
to
Andrew.
the Xfinity race, formerly called the PowerShares QQ 300, the Beef It's What's for Dinner 300. I don't know what the current name is, but I just call it the 2025 Austin Hill Invitational Race 1 at Daytona.
Funny you say that. It's actually his sponsor, United Rentals, so it might as well be the Austin Hill 300 at this point.
And speaking of Austin Hill, guess who I picked? Austin Hill, known super speedway driver.
Yeah.
Austin Hill.
I also refer to this race as the Austin Hill Invitational for the same reason as Andrew. I mean, we've talked about this. The two of us, he's just insanely dominant there. It literally is the Austin Hill Invitational. He has won the last 3 season openers at Daytona. The Beef What's for Dinner, It's What's for Dinner, and now the United Rentals race. So he's just unbeatable to start the season at Daytona. He's pretty much unbeatable at these types of tracks no matter what, but especially to start the season at Daytona. You're not beating him. You can try, but you're not gonna.
You know what fans would love to see?
Austin Hill crashing.
I think they would love to see a Jesse Love victory. Give me Jesse
No,
Love.
I like
he
that.
dominated.
I like
he
that.
dominated Super Speedways last year. He got a win at Talladega. He led at Atlanta and should have won that race had it not been for some late race fuel mileage going down. He was, I believe, I want to say he won a stage at Daytona. I could be wrong on that, but I know he certainly was up front and led laps. I think that this is going to be the pendulum swing at RCR, and we're going to see a Jesse Love breakout season. No sophomore slump for the driver of RCR.
I totally agree. Like, I have Jesse Love finishing third in the Xfinity Series this season. I am so high on Jesse Love. I can't pick him to win Daytona, but I like that. I like that. I'm very high on Jesse Love this year.
And before we get to our picks, I have to give you the five drivers to look out for the most. Joey Logano. He's won at Super Speedways before. He's always kind of good there. Denny Hamlin, he's won 3 500s before. William Byron, he's won 2 races at Daytona. Ryan Blaney, he hasn't won the 500 yet, but he's really, really good at Daytona and Talladega. So I think he could be the driver. And then finally, my 5th driver to watch out for, Chris Buescher. He's won at Daytona before, not the 500 either. I'm going to go through my honorable mentions quickly. Michael McDowell, who's done well. Brad Keselowski, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Kyle Busch, Austin Dillon, Eric Jones, Justin Haley, and Jimmy Johnson in that order because I include everyone who's won a race. Yes.
I just want to ask you guys a quick aside, real quick. Just, I know we talked about the duels, who's going to get in, who's going to get out. A lot of people I've been talking to, pole qualifying's tomorrow night. Just real quick on the spot, who do you think's going to win the Daytona 500 pole? I have Todd Gilliland. The front row cars were fast all year with Michael McDowell and Gillen behind the wheel. I don't think we're going to see any illegal gloves. I think a lot of people forgot about that last year. Otherwise, it would have been Michael McDowell on pole. Give me Todd Gilliland.
You go, Andrew.
I was originally thinking Ford because they kind of taken over qualifying in the next-gen car. But I'm going to go a team. And then you think of Hendrick.
Yeah.
They used to have a run. But I'm kind of going neither of them. I'm going with a team kind of affiliated with Hendrick. They do, I believe, have Hendrick engines, and that's someone on the Spire Motorsports team. A guy who was very good at front row qualifying last year.
I see where you're going.
And he is certainly one of the greatest Mick qualifiers of all time, Michael McDowell.
Okay. I'll go with the big name, the biggest name in NASCAR right now. I'll just take Kyle Larson. I don't know. he's fast. I don't know. I have no.
He has been fast at the super speedway qualifying.
Yeah, I have no logical reasoning for that other than Kyle Larson goes vroom vroom real quick.
Sorry, Andrew. I did not mean to derail your show. I just was curious as to who you guys thought was.
That was a perfect time to bring in that. Now, finally, for our Daytona 500 picks. A short view back to the past, gentlemen.
All right,
a few weeks ago, in the Blaze Radio Sports Department meeting, I said, Chase Elliott's going to win the Daytona 500 when asked, who is going to win the Super Bowl? And
You're just bad at answering questions.
And the answer still remains the same. Chase Elliott is going to win the Daytona 500. That is my pick. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
I like that. Writing for Blaze for the Clash, I was very curious because I knew that Chase, had won the Clash. This was his first Clash win. He's won the All-Star race. He has yet to win the 600, he's actually yet to win a Crown Jewel race, if I'm correct. Yeah, he's not won a Crown Jewel race. But his father, Bill Elliott, did manage to win the Clash and the Daytona 500. So that'll be a really cool narrative to follow throughout the week if Chase Elliott can run up front, which I think now it feels like he's got the monkey off his shoulder. So that's a good pick. I like that.
Well, I had a bit of a struggle picking my 500 winner. Me and Andrew were together when we were picking our winners. We were talking it over, and I really wanted to take Kyle Busch. Now, I have Kyle Busch getting into the playoffs, and it would just be so perfect if he locked himself in with a win at Daytona in his 20th year. Guy who's drawn comparisons to another guy that won at Daytona in his 20th season, Dale Earnhardt. Now, if you know anything about me, though, I'm not crazy on Kyle Busch. And that is what stopped me from making that pick. Apologies to Eric List, but I just couldn't do it. So I had to go searching elsewhere. And I started thinking a similar train of thought to my Corey Heim pick. I'm backing a guy to win the championship. Why don't I back him to get the season going strong? Christopher Bell. And I don't think he's a name that a lot of people are going to be thinking about, but it's not crazy for me. The last 4 times that the Cup Series has raced at Daytona, he has finished third 3 of those 4 times. Now, if he makes a jump and wins, I get 5 points. If he stays consistent and finishes third, chances are I'm bringing home at least 1. It's way too early in the season to be playing the game like that, but just to defend my pick, Christopher Bell, I don't think it's the craziest thing in the world. I really don't. I back him to win the title. Might as well back him to start the season off strong.
I took up the mantle of watching every single NASCAR race, or at least at the Cup level, from the year 2000 on to when I first started racing, which was 2017. And I said, you know what? I want to be able to have the complete 25-year history of the sport from, the century that I've been alive. So why not start now? So actually just was watching the 2000 Texas race where Dale Earnhardt Jr. scored his first win. So I'm getting through the season. And it dawned on me that I had never seen the legend of Dale Earnhardt. You see the most popular clips, the biggest wins, stuff like that. But as I'm watching his 75th race win at Atlanta Motor Speedway, I had no idea how that race went down. You would have assumed, Dale would have dominated or something to that effect. And, I'm realizing that Dale Earnhardt had a phenomenal season in 2000 and showed everyone that he was still the Intimidator. And you know what? Sometimes guys just have a bad year. They have a bad stretch, and they just got to shake off that mojo. You know, his son, Brexton, is running great, having a great time. Kyle Busch looks like he's having a fun time. And you mentioned it earlier, the 20 years of trying. Eric List, if you're listening, I am picking Kyle Busch to win the Daytona 500. He's going to bring Richard Childress Racing the first victory in quite some time. I think it's going to kick off a rejuvenation for Kyle Busch because arguably he's entering one of those golden stretches. I know he's older, but we've seen guys kind of hit it off late in their mid-40 range. And Kyle Busch, he's only 40 this year. He's only 40 years old. He's still realistically got at least 5 competitive years in him, if not more. I think they right the ship at RCR. I think Austin Dillon's, if it comes down to if Austin Dillon can stay out of trouble, and if the 8 is leading, you know darn well that 3 car is not moving. Austin Dillon, I think, has a good enough head on his shoulders to know that an 8-car victory is much more important than a 3-car victory. I think especially after everything that went down last year, Austin Dillon has got to be playing what's best for RCR.
I was with you until that last part. I'm not going to lie. I was all the way with you, and then you lost me.
We've seen it before, though. 2022, when Kyle Busch was first, I'm still convinced that the only reason Kyle Busch did not win the 2022 Daytona 500 was because Austin Dillon got wrecked. He was right there, and they were chained together, linked, going to go for the victory. And I think they're going to get a redemption arc in 2025.
I saw what happened at the Clash. Noah, the Dillon brothers were going at it, and they're brothers. I think he treated his brother better than his teammate.
I don't know. Clash. I mean, we saw Ty Gibbs go airborne. We've seen crazy things happen at the crash. The crash at the Clash. That was a bad year. I mean, we've seen teammates, go at it before, but I think again, fun fact, I go back to that Atlanta race. Richard Childress keyed up the radio. Mike Skinner was leading. Dale Earnhardt was behind him. They had a little bit of some fender tapping, and he went on the radio and said, "Boys, get yourselves together. One of you is winning this race." Mike Skinner's engine ultimately failed with about 30 laps to go, and Senior went on to win the race. I think it's time. I think that a Kyle Busch and with Dale Earnhardt Jr. on scene, that the celebration would be crazy. Yeah. Would be crazy.
Look, I'm happy you picked him. I was so close to picking him. I just couldn't for the Daytona 500, even though I like that pick, honestly, better than Christopher Bell for this race. I still did end up going with Christopher Bell, so I am glad that someone took him. And I wish you the best of luck in snapping the leading or the not leading streak of our guest pickers. Mm-hmm. I think you've set yourself up nicely to do it.
I hope so.
Noah, if you want to plug yourself, thank you for coming on before you leave
here. Tell the people where they can find you.
Yeah, well, I got a specialty show. You can catch me tomorrow, 2:30 p.m. in the afternoon, running the Scouting Session. It's a show that I run with my host, Ella Walter Sanchez, Jordan Talley. We talk about all the young prospects that you might not know they're there, but they're right under your noses. We got actually a very special couple of things lined up in the weeks. Stay tuned for some more special guests. I know we've had one already. We've got more in the works, but tomorrow we've got a great lineup of superstars. It's going to be, superstars, future superstars, especially with the one on the racing roundtable scene. So again, Andrew, Ethan, thank you guys so much for having me, and to all the listeners out there, thank you guys so much for supporting Blaze Radio. We truly appreciate it. Thank you guys so much, and have a good night, you guys.
Thank you. We'll be back in about 30 seconds. Andrew Hazley, Ethan Egentowski. That was Noah Reed with you on the Loose Wheel Show. And now we're going into the news here.
And now for the news. I'm going to have to speedrun this.
There's only 5 things.
True.
This was mentioned, I saw this earlier today, as Spire Motorsports has filed owner points for a 4th unchartered car that they could run. Not really sure who they'd put in this car.
Yeah, that's
maybe
gonna be my question. Like, who are we thinking for this?
I think maybe like a Raja Karuth or maybe some of the Chevy development pipeline drivers. Maybe you might see Allgaier, even though he's not really a development driver. You might see a Carson Kvapil, Connor Zilic, maybe, even though he's kind of tied to Trackhouse.
Yeah.
Maybe I wouldn't say any of the RCR guys because they have their own third car. I'm trying to think.
On the lines of Zilic, if he replaces Suarez, maybe Suarez?
Well, he wouldn't be replacing Suarez this year. It would be this is for this year. As an open car. I don't know who they'd put in because
I didn't realize this was for this year.
Yeah, maybe a Nick Sanchez. I don't really see. Maybe a Sammy Smith. I don't really know.
Options.
Maybe a Christian Eckes. Because the thing is, at the end of the day, the top Chevy guys are all tied to someone else. Not.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't really scoop a guy up, and there's just no really
I'd
riveting
I'd
options.
like to see Raja.
Maybe this might be a Ghost Hendrick car as a fifth Hendrick car, maybe. I don't know. We will see. That will be interesting to watch if there's going to be anything officially. If that car even ever runs, who knows? So that's and just something to keep an eye out for. Moving over to IndyCar, Doug Bowles replaces Jay Fry as IndyCar president. I like this move. Fry just kind of seemed like he was there, not really doing much. I don't know. I don't pay attention to the IndyCar leadership, but I do know J. Douglas Bowles. He is a guy who is always there. He is a true fan of the sport. He wants to see the sport succeed. You've seen him in the stands at races as a fan, watching these races. You've seen him grow the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. He's overseen upgrades to that have made the Speedway better than it was before. So you look at a guy that could potentially innovate more things with the schedule, just do different things, maybe get a new car, just get some fresh leadership that provides optimism within IndyCar.
Sure.
I think that's a huge. I think this is potentially to be a huge move. It would be like if the FIA sacked Mohammed Ben Sulayem, which
that is not how you say his
Mohammed
name.
Ben Cinnamon.
That is not how you say his name.
As I'm going, I don't know if anyone can hear, but I'm here. As I'm kind of yelling across the studio.
Is Bowles is also was announced as the new president of Indianapolis.
He already was the president
was?
of that.
Okay.
He's continuing that role.
He's continuing that role. Okay.
Because I really don't have a chicken award for the week, I'm going to give an honorary chicken award. Just because of the clown show that he has done. Mohammed Ben Cinnamon, you get the chicken award. I'm not going to squeeze it, but just know it is here. It is currently sitting on the microphone, Ethan. If you want to get a picture of this before it falls off.
Sure.
Mohammed Ben Cinnamon, you get the honorary chicken award this week.
All right, so
we're just going to leave that here until it falls
Mohammed
off.
Ben Sulayem is definitely shaking in his boots now, Andrew. But good enough transition as any into the F1 news. Actually, before we get into that, I wanna pose something that we don't have written in the document, but I think it's worth talking about.
Okay.
Earlier, I don't know if it was today or yesterday or even 2 days ago or whatever, but recently, Denny Hamlin on his podcast talked about how he's heard that there is a rumor within NASCAR to expand the Final Four to a Final Five. And Andrew, I don't know about you, but that is not the change to the playoff format that I want to see.
I think everyone agrees. Here's the thing. It's a rumor. You probably heard that is concepts of a possible idea within NASCAR, and he wanted to say, no, we don't like that. we, meaning himself and fans and whoever, just say, oh, kind of act as an instigator.
Well, NASCAR
a
doesn't
journalist.
always seem to care about what the fans think.
No, that is true.
It's just, and he talked about this. You can go listen to the clips. But he talked about how it just waters down the meaning of the championship even more, makes it even easier to win the championship, makes it even more just random, unrepresentative. Everything bad makes it more, essentially. So I'm glad we're on the same page there. Now we'll transition into some F1 news. I'm going to start off with the Cadillac news on the document. Andrew, we know that Cadillac is going to be partnered with Ferrari in terms of engines and gearboxes for the first few years of the Cadillac F1 team. But now we're hearing that this could be more than just engines and gearboxes. That relationship could expand to suspension components as well, according to Autosport. This would essentially make Cadillac very similar to what Haas's relationship with Ferrari has been historically, using a lot of the same parts as Ferrari. I mean, the suspension, gearbox and power unit, that is a vast majority of the car. And it would make Cadillac's transition into F1 a lot easier, less things that they would have to focus on out of the gate, a lot less things that they would have to perfect out of the gate. And this isn't, unique to Ferrari and Haas. Aston Martin gets their rear end from Mercedes. Okay, Andrew, you are very immature. RB and Red Bull, of course, have their deal that everyone knows too much about. This could be big for Cadillac if it goes through, because, like I said, it makes their lights a whole lot easier. And also, part of this article, Andrew, remember we were talking about how Cadillac was essentially had unrestricted CFD time and wind tunnel time and all that, as they weren't officially an entrant. Well, now they are, they're confirmed. They've received approval to be the 11th squad on the grid. So they have the same CFD research time as Sauber, the 10th place team, and wind tunnel time. And that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And it's huge, because whereas teams already in the sport have to worry about their 2025 car and their 2026 car with the big new regulation changes coming in 2026, Cadillac can put all of its resources into that 2026 car with that 115% wind tunnel time compared to the base, which is going to be huge for a team trying to get into F1. I can't promise it will guarantee results by any means, but it's going to help them out so much. Mm-hmm. Now, other big piece of F1 news, not a whole lot of F1 news, not a whole lot of news in general, but other big piece of F1 news is that Williams has, after 5 years of not having a title sponsor, have reached an agreement to bring on a title sponsor.
It's all about the money.
I mean, hey, it's racing at the end of the day. It's always about the money at the end of the day. So Williams, their new title sponsor, didn't know how to pronounce it, had to go look them up on YouTube, where either, I don't know if it was an employee or an intern or whoever, but they said the name of the company within like the first 5 seconds of the first video I clicked on. Atlassian. Shout out Kevin Lee, who is the intern or employee who said it in the YouTube video. Great guy, from what I can tell. Great guy. So, what is Atlassian, Andrew? I can hear you thinking. because I know you've never heard of it. I never heard of it. So I'm going to channel my inner Formula One YouTuber and read verbatim from Wikipedia.
Oh, boy.
Atlassian is an Australian software company that specializes in collaboration tools designed primarily for software development and project management, domiciled in the United States as Atlassian Corporation plc. They have 300,000 customers in 200 countries, Andrew. They're bringing in $3.92 billion in revenue in 2024. Big company here. And software development company. So they are not only the title sponsor of Williams, but they are also the official technology partner and official collaboration software partner of Williams per their press release that they put out on their website. James Vowles, of course, very excited about this. He said, "I am delighted to welcome Atlassian into Formula One and our evolution into Atlassian Williams Racing. Attracting a title partnership of this size and significance is a momentous day in our team's illustrious history and a major milestone in our comeback transformation. We are putting in place all the right ingredients to get this team back to the front of the grid. And in Atlassian, we have a partner that through its technology and tools will help unleash our full potential by improving teamwork and collaboration across the organization." So this company, with all their software knowledge, they're going to be helping Williams. It's a big get. It's not going to be something that's going to rocket Williams up the grid by any means, but it's going to help them make steps. You know, they have a big-time collaborating partner now that will be able to help them along their journey. They released their new team kits as well with the logo. You can see it, Andrew. Obviously, you guys can't see it. But you can look it up on Google. Google is free. So that's the big two pieces of Formula One news right now. But there's kind of another story that I want to talk about, Andrew. And that is the F1 launch event at the O2 Arena in London on the 18th. Andrew, when this event first got announced and we talked about it on the show, you were like, meh. I was saying that I hated the idea, and now I can finally explain why, because what I thought would happen has happened. It's just a mess. It is truly a mess, Andrew. On the 18th at the O2 Arena in London, F1, they're only putting this event on so that they can get money. Like, this is just a chance for fans to come and see the new liveries. But it's going to be the new liveries on last year's cars, because the teams don't want to bring their new cars and have other teams' engineers prying and looking at all the new innovations that they've made, you know? Teams don't want that. So it's going to be the old cars, and it's going to be all the teams. No one's going to have their time dedicated to them to shine on their own. And the teams don't want that. So they're making this event redundant by having their own launches after the event as well. And that's the way it should be. That's the way it always was. There was so much excitement in Formula One, circling the calendar, knowing what day each team was going to release their new livery. And the livery is the thing that most people care about. Like, it's kind of weird that it's not going to be like the new cars at the event, because some people, the technical-minded people, they like looking at that stuff. But they're going to have to wait later to see that aspect of it. And for the people that care about the liveries, it's just kind of, there's less excitement about it, in my opinion, because it's all happening all at once. There's no build up to the other teams, and there's no conversation throughout weeks. It's just all at once. And it's not just that. Like, Williams and Haas are unveiling their 2025 cars on the 14th and the 16th respectively. So it's going to be the 2025 car with either the old livery from last year or a camo livery. So this is just, this all could have been it wasn't broke. They tried to fix it because they tried to fix something that wasn't broke because Formula One wanted money. And it's just made the whole car launch season kind of meh to me.
There you have it, folks. This was episode 6 of the Loose Wheel Show. That's Ethan Ignatowski. I'm Andrew Hazlett.
No thoughts on that?
I don't really have any.
That's
just
that's crazy.
Yeah.
I know my F1 fans agree with me. I hope so anyway.
Do you have any final thoughts, Ethan?
No. See you next week. See you next Tuesday.
And with that, I'm going to play one of our guests' favorite songs, Hair Salon by Megan Moroney, as we head on out here. Stay tuned for more Blaze programming throughout the night.
To me, it looked like he actually lost the wheel.
The wheel for Ross Chastain is still and perfect.
Wheel on the track.
Did you leave the wheel loose?
You picked the fine time to leave me loose, wheel.